Every day, since the Most Hated Teaching video came out, more and more people are asking me, how do I start living by faith? Do you have any practical advice about how to put this teaching of Jesus into practice in today's world? Once again, I find myself rushing to get some further information through to all these people who have responded with sincere questions. In this video, I'm going to give you 7 important steps in the overall process of learning to live by faith as Jesus taught. Please listen to them carefully. Pause the video if necessary so you can write them down as we go along. Now, the first thing you need to do will sound obviously spiritual, but really it's also the most practical, and that is to pray. Don't talk to any human being about this until you've had plenty of time to talk to God about it. When I first saw this teaching of Jesus about living by faith, as a young man 45 years ago, my pastor said, very seriously, "You need to pray about this, brother, before you make such a dangerous decision." I replied, "Pastor, if this is what Jesus has told us to do, I would want to pray very seriously before I decide not to obey him." Contrary to what so many religious people think, there's nothing spiritually safe about doing nothing. God was calling me to step out in faith, and my pastor wanted me to listen to his fears. Oh, he said I should pray about it, but he wasn't really advising me to pray. And when people tell me that they need to get away and pray about the teachings of Jesus, I know that most of them are not going to pray at all. They're going to head straight to their pastor and get some ammunition to be used for shooting down this teaching of Jesus. My pastor was really advising me to put my Bible down and listen to him as he pumped fear into me. Fear in every shape and form he could imagine. "Your family's going to starve. You'll bring shame and disrepute on the church. You'll end up losing your faith altogether when God doesn't provide." He even went so far as to tell me that my wife would be raped because we started out by camping in a roadside rest area. We do need to pray, but by that I mean really pray. We need to count the cost. But we need to talk to God about it, and not all the fearful friends and relatives who will want to grab your ear. Each individual case is slightly different, and God will show you how you can best deal with the issues in your situation. Listen to him and discuss your concerns with him, and he'll guide you along the way. The second step in preparation for living by faith is to simplify. In particular, it helps to simplify our expectations. One thing that makes it so hard for some Christians to live by faith is that they have their heads filled with megachurch prosperity visions of incredible success, both numerically and financially. They've been told that if they have great faith, they'll be wearing Rolex watches, driving the best cars, and wearing expensive suits while preaching from the pulpits of the biggest churches in the world. In fact, it's been my experience for 45 years that preaching in established churches of any size is just not on the cards for anyone who truly wants to serve and obey Jesus. Get that whole churchy vision right out of your head. Think more about living out in the streets. The Bible says, "Be content with food and clothing." We're not even guaranteed accommodation. Jesus had homes to stay in from time to time, but he also said, "Foxes have holes, and the birds of the air have nests, but the Son of Man has nowhere to lay his head." Now think about this. If it's just a matter of getting enough food to survive one more day, do you think you have enough faith for that? Just enough food to get you through tomorrow? When we narrow it down to such simple basics as daily bread and clothes on our backs, most of us discover that we already have more than enough to get started right now. And step number 3 is to sell what you have. Sadly, many Christians in the West today have debts, lots of them. But even debts can often be cleared up if we just sell what we have and put all of the proceeds toward paying them off. Jesus said, "Sell what you have and give to the poor." The early Christians sold what they had, and they gave the proceeds to the apostles, who in turn distributed the goods, according to the needs of various people, both inside and outside of the church. So, if you sell what you have, and you yourself have some very basic needs, then some of what you get from the sales may be used to get you and those with you started in your new life. Are you starting to get the picture? It's not really hard to have enough faith for such a simple lifestyle once you let go of the extravagant expectations. Keep it simple, and you keep it easy. Now, the fourth way to live by faith is to give. Once your basic necessities have been met, you should be looking for others who are genuinely needy, preferably not druggies who are panhandling to get their next fix, but people with real needs. You may need to look to third world countries to find some really genuine people to support. But the bottom line is to give to someone, anyone, not because it will solve their problems, but because it will solve yours. The Bible says that godliness with contentment is great gain. That means that being contented with what you have is even better than being rich. Don't give to others so that God will give money to you. Give to others because you will discover godliness in the process. As you learn to stop grasping, you'll see God begin to move in your life. I'm not talking prosperity here. I'm talking contentment. Godliness with contentment is better than all the riches in the world. Now for the fifth step, work. I'm surprised at how many people assume that if you obey Jesus by selling everything you have, then you'll just sit on your backside and do nothing for the rest of your life. There's another misconception that's linked with this, and that's the assumption that everything the Bible says about Christians working has to be about working to make money. No way. In the kingdom of heaven, we can learn to become builders, farmers, fishers, doctors, counselors, pastors, whatever's needed in the world around us. It's just that many of the normal occupations, like fishermen, are already filled by people who are there because they can make money from doing it. What the world needs even more than farmers are people who will plant the seeds of God's love. God can turn us into fishers of men. He can teach us how to be builders in the kingdom of heaven and how to heal the broken spirit of those around us. Jesus said, "Don't say, 'In 4 months, then will come the harvest.' Behold, I say unto you, lift up your eyes and look on the fields, for they are white already to harvest." He goes on, "Pray therefore the Lord of the harvest, that he will send forth laborers into his harvest." That's us. We're the laborers. No unemployment in the kingdom of heaven. There's plenty of work for everyone. We just look around, find a need, and then we pray that God will help us to meet that need as an expression of his love. What the world most urgently needs today is to hear this message of God's loving provision for all those who will trust him for their daily bread. Give me just 10 Christians who are ready to lay their lives down in love for one another and for those around them, working day after day to preach the gospel, and I'm confident that together we could turn any city in the world on its end within a year. The city would not know what hit them. But sadly, the same church that preaches working for money squeals like a wounded pig when someone mentions working for God. "Work?" they shriek. "You mean work your way to heaven? I can't do work." All I can say is don't work if you like, but you won't be getting any free lunches in my church. Churches everywhere never stop talking about their duty to work for money, but as soon as you mention working for God, the story changes. And that is precisely why the world is plummeting into hell at the moment. The institutional church is sadly leading the way. Now, step number 6 is to ask. I'm not talking about begging. I'm not talking about selling your services. I'm just talking about offering people the privilege of helping out some of God's messengers from time to time. Jesus sent his disciples out without any money. He said, "Freely you have received, freely give." But he went on to say, when you go into a town, ask who is worthy to accommodate you and stay with them. for the worker is worthy of his hire. Don't be greedy, live simply, but if you are truly feeding people spiritually, then it's only fair that they give you something materially when you have a genuine need. Paul taught that. He said that those who preach the gospel should also be able to receive gifts from those to whom they preached. He said that he had given the people spiritual treasures. It was only right that they responded by helping him with his material needs. No salary, mind you, no demands, no payment, just as they were able to assist him. And now for my last point. You need to share with others of like mind. I'm not talking about giving money. That was covered in point number 4. I'm talking about finding others who have this same faith in Jesus, sharing your life with them. Jesus said, where 2 or 3 are gathered together in my name, there am I in the midst of them. You don't need a building. You don't need 100 people. Just someone else besides yourself who will share the Christian walk with you. Like any marriage, you will find that God can teach you almost everything you need to learn just by working with one other person. Why? Because you're going to rub each other the wrong way. You're going to get on each other's nerves. You'll test each other in every possible way. But the world, looking on, will know that you are Christians by how you deal with those differences. They'll see your love. They'll see that you don't give up when the going gets hard. Love can never be demonstrated by just one person living on their own. It takes 2 or more. Through this channel, you may be able to find someone else who is wanting to do the same thing as you. You'll make mistakes, they'll make mistakes. But through it all, God will teach both of you if you'll let Him. People who are prepared to leave it all for Jesus are extremely rare, especially in today's world. You may not be able to find another one in your whole city, or in your state, maybe not even in your whole country. But if you are ready to let go of everything and start searching, God can lead you to someone in His own way and in His own time.